That's it is okay. Yeah, I can explain that. See, you have your mother's recipe for biryani. You get it from your mother's recipe for model innovation. Doesn't get noticed by people so much. So the mindset that one needs to have is what can be created. If you are doing something new at the cost of usefulness, it will become a nuisance or consumer plan. Now this is again tricky because you might think that then innovators must go and ask people what do they want, right? Metrics algorithm itself or some people things like that. But they crack the
Welcome all. This is MTACTIQ, a marketing podcast club, and I'm Shiva.
I'm Bennett.
And for today's guest, we have Mr. Dilip Chandra, and he's been in teaching profession for more than 15 years, and he has 13 years of experience in Christ. So how are you?
doing very well, thank you.
Yes, how was the day? Are we good to go?
It's too early in the morning to say anything about the day, but yeah, it began very well, and I think it's going to go well.
Yes. So everybody knows around you are in Christ, and we don't need a specific introduction or anything as such. You itself a brand and marketing, and yeah, I'm not kidding. Yes, sir. So you have worked as an analyst in Spizday and in Vertex, and you have been graduated MBA from Liverpool, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, sure. So let's dive in directly to the marketing perspectives of this whole. The whole podcast is around how marketing is driven by innovation and what are the components of it, how design thinking helps for a business and branding and etc. So we would like to know what was your perceptual shift like when you started your career, when you just had a huge transition into teaching profession. It was a leap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
so we would like to know. Yes, we would like to know how did the perception change from the initial stage of your life, and as the journey goes by, and how it is right now.
Yeah, I started off as a finance person into technical accounting, and then I wanted to do my MBA, and I went to Liverpool to do my MBA. When I came back to India, there was an opportunity for me to teach to a bunch of students who were studying in an extended campus of an Australian university. They were struggling to work on their assignment. So my initial assignment in teaching was meant to be a stopgap arrangement until I actually get what I wanted and to teach them academic writing. So that's what I started doing. Then the whole idea of teaching, learning, reading kind of sucked me into it, so I decided to stay back. And also so it's more of an accident, but I guess it's kind of a sweet accident, a serendipity. So I couldn't think of doing anything else, so I continued to teach.
So how did your perception towards marketing shift on the?
Okay, so to be very honest, I don't consider myself as a marketing person. I learned to look at things from the lens of strategy, and to be very honest, I started looking at things from also the point of view of consumption, right? How people consume and how does consumption affect supply rather than how supply affects consumption. So from that point of view, when I started analyzing various things, I got opportunities to read more on psychology, consumer psychology to be specific, and that also helps me read and analyze things that we see on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So since we have attended your class, we know your playground is innovation, design thinking, and strategy. So for our audience, can we have a brief about all this? How do you perceive innovation, design thinking, and strategy in your own terms, in your own way?
So what really drew me to want to learn about innovation was, just like any curious student, I was interested in knowing about companies. So when you go to the companies that come to your mind, you like those companies, you want to learn more about them, and then you go and look at some basic things like maybe their vision statement or their mission statement or something. 8 out of 10 companies usually talk about innovation, and maybe everybody is trying to do innovation. So the big question that I had was, why do some companies innovate, and why quite a lot of them struggle to innovate? So this also sort of formed the basis for my doctoral thesis, this question, which is what stops or what prevents organizational innovation. So that is what my genuine general curiosity was, and I tried to look for an answer in a very academic and a very structured way through my thesis, and that's what drew me to innovation. And like any other field, this is an ocean, and because it's more interesting because there is a lot of tacitness involved in innovation. You can't really parameterize everything about innovation. It's not easily, you can't put a metric. It's not so easy. It's not so explicit. There is a lot of tacitness involved. So that also increases one's curiosity to try and find out what really works, what doesn't, why does something work for some company and the same thing doesn't work for another.
Before the last question, sir, can we explain what is tacitness?
Tacit is, okay, yeah, I can explain that. See, you have your mother's recipe for biryani, you get it from your, your mother sends it to you on WhatsApp, you go get the same ingredients and then switch on the stove and do this. But your biryani sucks and your mother's biryani is brilliant. So what cannot be transformed, transformed so easily is the tacit knowledge, right? So it's tacit. So it's not explicit. You cannot put it in a
experience.
Traditionally one way of passing on that tacit knowledge to the next generation was obviously this apprenticeship. Our Indian culture has always praised this idea of Gurukula, which is you don't learn from your teacher, you actually live with the teacher, right? So, or any other traditions, blacksmith, learns from doing apprenticeship with another blacksmith, or a hairstylist does it. So there's a lot of tacit knowledge that gets transferred from one to another, which otherwise is very hard to document. You can't, it's not KT document that you write, knowledge transferred and give it. So innovation is one such thing where a lot of tacitness is involved. You know that things work in a certain way around here, but you can't really very clearly define it. And more and more, you see glimpses of some evidences of why something works, but you can't really put it into words. I'm not saying you can't do it at all, but it's not very effective. So you can feel it, but you can't really put it in words. Yeah, that's tacitness. Yeah, like your mother smells and she knows this.
Yeah.
Their salt is right.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody who does not know anything about it will laugh at it. And how does she know when she smells that the salt is right? That's tacit.
So as you told, like we evolve as a species, both in very ideology wise also, process wise also we do. And from a business perspective, from a marketer's perspective, when we have an innovative idea, sometimes we get driven by it and we get lost in it. Most of the times, I would say, if you are not emotionally intelligent, we think our idea is the best and it's going to disrupt the industry, and we think we have very great deep in the industry or something. We tend to lose ourselves on the way to reaching that end goal. So, what exactly do you want to tell people, or like what kind of practice we should take on to prevent ourselves from getting too involved in that innovative idea and we get lost? Rather, we have to take, as you told, to step back and see it from a third person perspective, not to understand and observe. So do you have any specific practices or how it can exactly be done?
See, my interaction with startups and people who innovate or consider themselves innovative, both in startups as well as in established organizations, and a little bit of reading in this area, tells me that you rightly pointed it out, Shiva, that they tend to get carried away by something that they have achieved or something that they see as a moonshot idea and all that. Essentially, if one is interested in innovating for consumption, what is important is the yardstick that they use for measuring the effectiveness of innovation should be defined through consumer value, customer value, and not the technology, not the resources, not the science behind. These things become enablers, but the real validation of what is innovation essentially must be defined by consumer value. Now this is again tricky, because you might think that then innovators must go and ask people what do they want, right? That's very tricky.
Yeah.
And most of the time people don't know what they want.
Yeah.
So it's kind of vicious cycle. You're stuck basically, because you're waiting for somebody to tell you that they want this so that you can do this.
Yeah.
But they themselves don't know what they want, so you don't know what
It's
to
like
do.
a paradox.
So it's a paradox. So you're stuck in it. So this is where some amount of wisdom and intuition and other things come. Of course, we can't teach it, obviously, because like I said,
It was
it borders that tacitness.
Yeah.
So you don't. So intuitive. So if you look at innovators, great innovators, they had an impeccable understanding of what their beneficiaries valued and wanted, although it was not explicitly told by them, right? So in a way, these people cracked the code is the best I could muster up here. Cracked the code of what maybe they saw, like Neo, some
Like Matrix.
unraveling
Somebody just
itself
gave
or
the red and
something
blue
like that.
Yeah.
But they cracked the code, and therefore they were able to see something that's beneficial to the people even before the people saw it. And then they were so convinced about it, with all their conviction and all their grit and all their enthusiasm and shrewdness, they went behind it, and therefore created something that's worthy of notice. So that is so my response to this question is, the yardstick needs to be consumer value or customer value, or the value of the user or the beneficiary, and not what you know or what you have just discovered as a new technology or something. Allow me to also talk about so in this line, one concept, I don't want to call it a concept, let's say a tradition, or maybe that inspires me to read more about and practice, is design thinking.
Yeah.
Design thinking does exactly this. It sort of democratizes creativity. It says that you use certain aspects of stress and discipline and persuasion and all of, and then you actually innovate based on what your user defines as value, not based on if you look at an artist, for example, an artist's investment into his art is basically his imagination.
Yeah.
Design thinking sort of changes this whole paradigm into looking at user value definition as the investment, as opposed to one's imagination. But of course, imagination is used to bring those things together and give a creative or an aesthetic appeal to this. But essentially, the crux of what you are working on is not based on your imagination. It is coming directly from what your users explore, or what you explore along with your users as value.
Okay, so you told about consumers' value when talking about innovation. So in simple terms, are there any key metrics or key performance indicators for companies to measure if this innovation was in the right track when they are displaying it?
It's very hard, because since companies don't have one goal for innovation, Um, so metrics are defined based on the end goal, right? So different companies innovate for different reasons.
Correct.
Because there is no commonness or unanimity in terms of defining the goal for innovation, metrics are also quite varied. Um, there are few things available to measure the effectiveness of innovation.
Yeah.
I mean, one person that comes to my mind is, this person called Alan Afua, who wrote on strategic innovation. In one shot, he said, he's talking about corporate innovation, by the way, not innovation in any other space. He says, what defines innovation as innovation is its ability to give a company access to supernormal profits. He says anything that doesn't do this is not considered
Maybe a
innovation.
competitive edge. Acts like
Competitive
edge.
advantage, it can be a function of this kind of a supernormal profit, but you don't have. But yes, I think this is an area that needs work and innovation and research. I was involved in one such research where we were trying to define something called an innovation signature, because we wanted to call it signature because, I mean, we wanted to acknowledge the fact that different companies have different reasons for innovation, and therefore we didn't want to look at it as a straitjacketed, this thing phenomenon, but we wanted to allow that uniqueness that companies have. So they define what is it that they want and why are they doing innovation, and then are they able to do that? So that is, that's one way of sort of measuring. But if you look at magazines like Forbes, they come up with a list of most innovative companies in the world and all of that every year, I think. Every year. So if you read the description of how did they arrive at this list, they would have defined some parameters that they have judged, based on which they have come up with a conclusion like this, and it's fairly self-explanatory and transparent. We can understand, but yes, they can be questioned, but that's what they use.
Yes. So we have once in class you mentioned about a book called Art of War. I was really curious about it. It was by a samurai, right?
Sun Tzu. No,
Okay.
not a samurai. Samurais are Japanese. Sun Tzu is a
Okay.
Chinese. Chinese
Warrior. Okay.
I would say, philosopher,
Okay.
not a warrior, but I would say a philosopher who thought a lot about war and victory and things like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
So it's more like a task. Because most of the companies use war strategy.
Yeah.
And most of the technologies we right now use also was from war.
Yeah,
Anything
that's
that World War II and World War One was
Correct.
pioneer of most of the technologies that we use
Absolutely.
now, which is in the back end mostly.
Yeah.
Okay. So from marketer's perspective, always we try to shift our perspective towards marketing since it's from this club.
But I have already given the disclaimer that
We are not
I
a
don't
marketer.
see
That's the
myself
last.
as a marketing.
Okay. Oh, maybe strategist perspective.
Yeah. Okay.
To be fair, so do you see any direct implication or like indirect implication or your interpretation of some strategies that's mentioned in that book, and that a company or a product or an innovation that resembles or like that reflects those kind of strategies? Because deep down the core of strategy might, you have, as I told, the skeleton will be same, and how it is
Yeah.
projected outside is gonna take its turns. So do you have any example for us in that way?
Well,
Strategy, can
there are people who have used. I think this became sort of a fad when all the CEOs and other people were talking about art of war. There's one similarity between business and war. I mean, in my understanding, there could be many, but in my understanding, there's one, which is reversing a decision is either impossible or it's very expensive.
Yeah.
So what you do needs to be done in such a way that you don't really look at reversing it. So that's what, which means it's also sort of, it's not, I wouldn't say permanent, but it's sort of long term. It's something that you do has a lot of implications, and therefore you would like to do it very carefully, right? So that renders to the idea of companies wanting to borrow inspiration from people such as Sun Tzu. War and this martial things and philosophers who wrote about, even Niccolo Machiavelli or Sun Tzu, they have inspired business leaders for a long time, I think. But it's a sort of a, it's, forgive me for saying this, it's kind of a fad, suddenly everybody is talking, one person says art of war and everybody says I want to do art of war. And then they are there principles that you can directly adopt from art of war, put it into your business? I don't know. I think you can put it into yourself, and there are things that, and then are there things that you can take from Niccolo Machiavelli and then start putting it into business and write policies based on that? I don't think it's that transparent. And also these books are very cryptic. They're not so easily. So one needs to. And the other day we had a lecture from someone at the University of Christ here at the MBA department. He was talking about Kautilya's Arthashastra, and then how Arthashastra renders to the way administration policy. So it brings together administration, policy, economics, and all of that together, and how that can actually help people develop strategies for their business. These things are very cryptic. It requires some amount of immersion in, first of all, decoding what they actually mean, and then interpret it, and then use it the way you might want to. And the latest fad I see is people are always talking about Stoics. You go to Seneca, the junior, or Marcus Aurelius, and so that's. So is there something that you can learn from Marcus Aurelius? Absolutely yes, but can you put that as a policy or a strategy document for a company? No. It is, see, meditations, he wrote it not for not even for publication or anything. These meditations he wrote, Marcus Aurelius, he came back to his room or whatever, maybe tent. I can imagine how he was depicted in Gladiator. So maybe tent, and then he wrote meditations for it was his personal diary,
journal or something.
So journaling. So it's quite cryptic if you have to convert that into some strategy document and put it as it is.
Correct. And when you said the growth and adaptation is very exponential rather than step by step, and when do you think it's gonna get stable, or any idea?
I'm not an astrologer. I don't know. See, like we discussed before, things take time to become an overnight phenomenon, right?
Exactly.
So there's this motivation type of videos that come on Instagram and other things. It says about a particular plant that takes many years building the roots, and suddenly so it's usually like that. It's usually like that. So this is actually a consolence for people who think they're not doing well. It says you're okay, you're growing your roots or whatever. They can feel happy about it. But this may happen, and when it comes up, then it's quite fast, But we don't know whether it's really dormant or actually, building roots. We don't know.
Actually, to be frank, it's moving into a bubble. The AI model works in a way like we provide the content that's been generated by the humans to itself, and it creates a model based on the data that's produced by humans. I can talk for the whole MBA, but still for the past 1 year, we didn't do any assignments on our own. And it's mostly ChatGPT. So let's consider this is how all the media is also using the same kind of content. And over the period of time, every content that's produced by the humans is also by AI.
Correct.
So when you want to create a model in AI, in the furthermore things, there is no more human data. That's the content produced by human to feed into AI to come up with a model. It's just AI produced data that you have to give it to AI. And it's again a snake biting its own tail. That is a loop, and that is there was a phenomenon that's
the danger that these people are talking about, right? Zuckerberg and other people are talking about that. That's the danger that they're talking about.
So it is, maybe the spike is huge, and the time that it goes to a saturation is also, it's going to be an elongated one. But as you told, we need a human touch end of the day, and that goes to my next question, because the strategy, from a strategy and innovation perspective, the involvement of AI has tremendously changed the decision making, and the factor that they give for AI has been increased, the priorities and all those things. So how can you draw a line between, like, my AI model tells me to do this, but my human gut and my instinct tells me to do something that's opposite or something. So from a strategist perspective, and to be frank, even AI is very influential in those kind of ways because it analyzes people and data more than that we do. So if there was a situation where your gut instinct clearly says to not to do what AI says, what would you do? It's just a scenario case.
I would change it because see, when we use this word gut, we are generally talking about
Instincts, yeah.
right? See the problem is, as long as you look at these technologies, including AI, as an enabler, it's fantastic. See, a complex system like a relationship is a complex system, and then when you are looking at a company wanting to build meaningful, profitable relationship with consumers, a group of consumers or whatever, it's a complex system, and the complexity. See, whatever AI does is predefined.
Yeah,
it's
Correct.
predetermined.
It's
It's
if
a-
else statements,
right?
that's
So
all.
it's but a complex system is something that allows for variability. Like game of football, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Probabilities and
yeah.
patterns.
So it's based on the response, and then therefore, as long as this remains an enabler, your assignments keep getting better. Right? If you look at using ChatGPT to write your assignments in a better way, your assignments keep getting better. But what if I change the metric from for our rubric
Yeah.
to measure the effectiveness of your assignment, or to measure how good it is, from structure, content, and other things to tell me something new,
Yeah.
right? Then the whole thing is
Disrupted,
changed,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that is what I think is important for us to acknowledge at this point in time. It is working well as long as the rubrics remain the same. You are able to write assignments and then hoodwink your professors or whatever, because the rubrics have not changed.
Yeah.
What if the rubric changes? Then your ChatGPT is going to say,
Obsolete.
sorry,
Yeah,
boss. I mean, one simple thing I can do to make sure that you cannot use anything from ChatGPT, and very simple. I will simply say, use the data from 2021 onwards. Finish.
Okay. Because the whole
Yeah.
model works on
Gone.
it.
That's
Yeah,
it. So it's not. So it's not like that, right?
Okay.
So you basically use it as an enabler. It's great, but if you pass the decision making to it, maybe that's not a good idea.
So, as a professional, we grow in a trajectory, and that also shadows our personal life trajectory.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, every marketer, or like not even every marketer, every professional,
Professional.
whatever they learn in their professional life, they try to amend few things in their personal life as a strategy. So, something that you learned from your professional life that you implemented on your personal life, which has given you a tremendous shift in your, or like a tremendous output that that you can share. Anything
I
that
don't-
was innovation
okay,
or
fair
strategy?
enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, so I will break it into a few parts. First thing, I think I am with Christ for a very long time. One thing that I have learned from being a part of Christ is to be organized and be very critical about time, right?
Which why not?
That has helped me become a much more efficient person, so I don't go anywhere late, or I don't also like it if someone so yes, that is one thing, which is not, I don't think it was it I was like that before. This is something I have learned. The second part is, as a profession, I am as a prof, I am expected to read and learn, and therefore, what is actually happening in the backdrop is you don't buy anything at its face value. So you always are interested in looking at what's behind this. So you're constantly looking for, the cause behind something, right? that also helps in personal life, because most of the things that you see aren't what they are.
Yeah.
You know, so if you have the ability and intellectual capability to scratch through the surface and go beyond that and to find out why this is happening, you need not remain a person who is constantly reacting to what's happening around you. You achieve a certain sense of, I think, tranquility, because you know this is happening because of something else. You don't have to become so reactive. You don't have to live running from a pillar to a post and then suddenly becoming so desperate. Oh, this is not happening. Oh, she's not replying to my text. You don't become like that. You understand things, and that gives you tremendous power. It gives you a lot of courage, gives you a lot of power. People might look at it as somebody being passive, but it's not passive. It's active at a very different level.
I don't know, it's Sigmund Freud or something. They told like every conscious action or decision is because of a subconscious.
Yes,
Freud only, I guess.
A lot of work in that. Yes, but because I am into academics, academics enable you to actually go and find out why, right? So, I guess that is also another thing that I have learned from my profession, that I think has become a natural part of my personal life.
And that made you the Shashi Tharoor of choice, I would say. The words that you use are like, you constantly learn. And so we have, I mean, if anybody has your contact list, they know like what kind of status you are. So that shows how philosophically on one. Do you take your philosophical thoughts to the strategies and innovation that you do? Because there is a huge gap between empathy, sympathy, compassionate things and business and the goals, and that's a gap.
It's wrong to think that philosophy is all about compassion, empathy, and all that.
Okay, maybe Stoicism, nihilism, that's fine.
No, but the thing is, I don't take anything anywhere. I guess everything boils down to the same thing. So, so if you look deep into something, you will find philosophy in that. Philosophy is essentially contemplating the nature of something, nature of existence. That's why you have doctoral, right? This doctoral degree is essentially a degree in philosophy. Many people don't understand, because that's called doctorate of philosophy. And you can have a doctorate of philosophy in anything, in mathematics, in business,
a deeper understanding
in physics. So what is doctor of philosophy doing in mathematics, right? Which means at the core of everything you actually find out philosophy,
right?
So you don't have to take it. It's not like some isolated
separate entity or something.
It's not. It's there everywhere. It's just that if you have the required, if you have the need to want to go deep into something, if you go deep into anything, you will only find philosophy. But beyond that, maybe there is something else which
that's just a void that people try to conquer.
I don't know. So
okay.
I don't want to talk about something that I don't know.
Yes. We are moving towards conclusion, and you, since most of our audience are students and who are trying to pursue their career in sales and marketing predominantly, and from innovation and strategist perspective, do you want to tell them these are the things that if you equip in your life or like in a daily lifestyle, which they can do, which is practical also? Do you have any such practices that you want to tell them? Or I don't want to call it as advice, because nobody really, it's very cliche now. So just tell maybe you can tell what you do in order to have a very great professional life, or to them what kind of things that they can change in day-to-day life that will lead to very great things in future.
I mean, these are like, these prescriptions generally don't work. It's
more like WhatsApp statuses.
It's
motivational.
It generally doesn't work. But I guess one needs to give a lot of time to understanding and knowing what is that they really want. Because we tend to take what we want for granted, and then we measure whether we have actually gotten it or not. You know, that we will measure, but we don't really take time to actually know what we want. Really want.
Yeah.
You know, it's usually borrowed. All our ambitions and desires and everything
Borrowed.
is borrowed
From the society.
wherever.
Yeah.
You know, you see someone and then you want to do that. But if we spend a lot of time and energy and effort and into actually thinking and defining what we want, I guess that's a good investment of time.
Yeah.
It's a very good investment of time. But other than that, I mean, I think one would benefit a lot by being organized. One would benefit a lot by keeping themselves really healthy, focusing on eating good food,
Which we
working
don't
out,
again, yeah.
and being at the best of whatever they can be, dress up well, and then. So what happens is whatever you really have within reflects the way you want it to reflect. So these basic things, if one takes care of, like among you and your friends and all that, I think one very important thing is you guys underestimate the importance of food, sleep, and exercise.
Yeah.
That's very bad. You are doing it not because you want to. You're doing it because you don't really know how critical this is.
Over 35 years, then we will know the criticalness, because as of now, since we can the body bears all this in
and
this
you
age,
don't know what it is
consequences
doing. So
in,
therefore, I think that is important. So that if I think we give a lot of focus on, and we have to be comfortable being boring and monotonous, which really works because it gives you compound, later. Wanting to be entertained all the time, I think, is some kind of a sickness.
instant gratification, maybe.
It really pushes one to live a very low quality life. Yeah,
Cheap thrills, maybe.
I don't know whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
When you said, excuse me.
Yeah.
So when you said we need time, we need to invest time
Yeah.
in getting to know what we actually
Yeah,
want. And few of us, we know what to do professionally after joining some courses, or you just get some interest in particular field in the way of professional. But in actual life, if you want to find your purpose, do we have that time to invest to search for a purpose, or very
The whole
very
point is you're
fast-paced
thinking
world?
somebody has to give you that time. It's
already
it's
there.
there. It's
It's
there.
there.
It's yours. So what do you want to do with
So
it? It's
when we
yours.
talk about in this fast-paced world, right after graduation you go for your masters and then job, and then again your whole time is just invested in there. So how do you actually find time
doesn't
in
mean that making time doesn't mean become inactive. Making time essentially means learn to reflect, and that reflection can happen while you are pursuing something. Certainly it can happen, but we must reflect. I think the knowledge or wisdom or intelligence in the true sense is definitely a function of reflection, not a function of time. It's not because you've spent a lot of time doing something you're amazing at it. You can become amazing at it because you've reflected on what you've done. So that's more important according to me.
Do you want to tell anything to our audience, which is low as of now, but it will grow in time? But do you want to tell anything?
Have fun.
Have fun. Just so you do not have fun.
No, but then you change the definition of fun, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So please
Yes.
have fun.
In Christ?
Everywhere,
Okay.
because if you're having fun, you're having fun.
Yes. So thank you so much for having
Thank
us.
you. It was a
Thank you.
fantastic.
Thank you very
That was great
Nice.
learning that we had today, and we'll constantly we'll try to have one more conversation. If
Yeah, sure, great, awesome.
Yes.
So everyone, thank you so much for watching. It's been an amazing conversation with our faculty. So we'll try coming up with new topics with our new guests, which will be of more interest for the audience as well as for the interest of us. So make sure you follow us, like, share, and subscribe, and we will come back to you every week. Thank you.
Thank you so much.